I think we both lost our voice a little bit, but it wasn't that I was screaming during the race. I think it's all the talking I did afterwards.
Well, how's he look this morning, Bill?
Looks great. He ate up last night. I mean, I was really flabbergasted when I saw him. You know, by the time I got back to the barn, he had eaten up. I mean, his tub was already out of the stall, and he must have eaten his dinner in 20 minutes. That was, you know, which is pretty unusual for a horse that's run that hard, and he had great appetite. He jogged good this morning. He looked good. He did sustain a little scrape on the outside of his pastern, most likely leaving the gate when, you know, he broke and the horse outside of him was trying to get over, and it looked like maybe that horse caught him a little bit on the outside of his right front pastern. Looks like it's more of a scrape. It's not a cut. It's more of a scrape that it's about 4 inches long. It just right now it looks to be a superficial thing, but everything else on him looks good. Knees, ankles, jogging good. You know, I can't be happier with everything else.
With something like that, Bill, does he have to take any antibiotics or anything?
Well, that's a consideration for sure. You know, you don't want to have some bug, you know, get integrated in there. And
Billy, that's the right front? Right
yes, yes, on the outside of his right front pastern. But it's, you know, on a normal day and a horse, and you know, that's not him. You know, you wouldn't be concerned about it really.
Thoughts about the future plans with the horse as far as possibly going for the Triple Crown? Where are you at?
Well, I think we're in discussions about that now. Michael and I have already, you know, had a brief discussion, and you know, we're just tossing back the options, and I believe we want to do what's best for the horse. I know everybody would, you know, normally, of course, you want to always think about a Triple Crown, and that's not something we're not going to think about. But I think we've got to, you know, we've got to come to a conclusion probably in the next few days. But it's not going to be this morning.
How special is this for you? You get your Derby outright victory. Has this felt real at this point for you? Has it sunk in for you yet?
Well, as I was rolling out of bed this morning, my wife asked me if I believed it yet, and I said, well, it's starting to sink in. I mean, it really is pretty special. As I've said before, I've been in this barn for over 45 years, and this is the second Derby winner, but the first one that crossed the line first. So it's special. I mean, Churchill Downs is naturally a special place for me, and to win the Derby, you know, the impact of it on me and my family, I think it's just something we've dreamed about for a long time, and finally happened.
So you didn't get the chance to go any further with Country House. I think he had an infection after the race, and then other things went awry. You know, can you talk a little about having another opportunity to maybe try for a Triple Crown, or at least have a future with this?
Well, it's good to have that option. I don't think that we're dead set on it. I don't think that's the only thing we're thinking about. You know, he's a well-bred horse, and he's obviously going to be a stallion prospect at the end of his career, and we want to stretch it out and try to hit the right races. I'm not downplaying the Triple Crown, but we want to do what's best for him, you know, as we would with any other horse.
When you left the winner's circle after the Street Sense, did you at all envision 6 months from now, I'd love to be walking out of this winner's circle again?
Well, frankly, I don't think I was even there for the Street Sense. I didn't walk out of the winner's circle. I think it was I was out of town. Kenny saddled him that day, and you know, he got him there. But I think we were thinking about that, you know, from the time he ran his first race. We watched him close really well, in the maiden races that he was in, and he just got touched off, in the second one, and he was galloping out. And, we had Michael, had mentioned the street sense, knowing, it was a two-turn race. It was at Churchill Downs, and, it's not customary for us to run maidens in stakes, but as Michael had said, if he had gotten up by a head, we'd have been coming to the street sense. So the day that he was second in both of his maiden races, I mean, he was closing well and galloped out well in front of him, very strong. I mean, it was even his first race when he was fourth. I mean, I had so many people commenting to me like, wow, he was coming like a freight train through the stretch, and he came like a freight train, the first Saturday in May.
Michael, what's your day after assessment and your thoughts on the possible competition and other legs of the Triple Crown?
Yeah, well, it's just exhilarating to be there yesterday and be here again this morning. As Bill alluded to, I was cheering louder than him. He was focused in, so I lost my voice completely on the back of good cheer the day before as well. What we'll do with the horse is the right thing for him. Give Bill a few days with his team to assess him, see how he's doing, and if he's in great shape, we will certainly have a look at everything. But we want to be considerate where we're going to run him and get him in the right race that's going to be beneficial for him as well. It's a long season. He's had 3 hard races in the last since the beginning of March, or since February, and he's that takes a lot out of those horses. We saw him train here all week long. He puts a lot into his gallops as well. So I think we just, it's a quick turnaround, as we all know, and that's what makes the Triple Crown so special. But we'll just do what's the right thing for him. He'll tell us yay or nay, and we'll do what he tells us to do. And there's a lot of great races out there for 3-year-olds. 3-year-old colts have a great campaign, so there's lots of great opportunities, a lot of really, really good races to try and compete in and see if we can, pad his resume even more so.
At what point will you have to decide?
I was probably maybe the middle of the week or something like that. We'll make a decision on it, see how he is, and
The middle of this week?
probably this week. Yeah, probably won't wait too long. We'll just see how he is, and by the end of the week anyway, we'll know what we're going to do, because Bill's going to have to figure out what he needs to do in him if we're going that direction.
Bill, when would he return to the track?
The track is now open for training. The track is now open for training.
I wasn't sure how many days off you give your horses after a race, but when
We
might he return
we
to the track?
typically give him at least 2 or 3 days just walking the shed row, and I'd say
The track is now open for training.
that would have had to gallop him in a hurry.
Are we going back today? Michael, you started the year with 4 prospects to hit the target. I think we talked in January about this, 4, and then to hit it. What does it mean to?
Well, I think it just shows you how tough it is to get here, that you probably need plenty of ammunition to go in there. We had 4 horses, really nice horses to come in. 3 of them got to the races this year and performed well. And to get 2 of them here on the day, and all these horses were all homebreds. They were all by different stallions as well. And to be able to, get them in those prep races to look like they had the talent to be able to do that was unbelievably proud for all the people back on the farm and our organisation. We still have some horses in there sitting and waiting. First resort, he go back to the trainer probably next week. We just have to get the vet in to make sure that he's a clean bill of health. He'll go back in again. Poster has a little bit of time off yet, and East Avenue, I haven't talked to Brendan yet. probably a bit disappointing with him yesterday. To my eye, anyway, maybe he was a little bit rank on the going around the first time, but still ran well, and we'll see where we land with him. But it does take a lot of horses to get here, and we've been trying for a long time, and this was a great opportunity for us, and just glad that we had the right horse on the day to be able to pull it off.
So can you tell us a little bit about the celebration last night?
Well, we were late, you know, of course, between getting out of the museum, that took quite a while, and you know, the whole crew was waiting back here, and it just, you know, everybody puts a little something into this. It's not one person, two people. I mean, I'm kind of the one you're talking to, but I'm really not the one that's doing the heavy lifting. The whole team was here, and you know, I'm just so happy for everybody to be able to get to enjoy that a little bit. And, it was just pretty special to do it with the people that you work with every day. I mean, for me, you know, my biggest enjoyment in life is probably, besides my grandkids, is coming out here and seeing the help and seeing the horses and just watching the progression. If progression is what, you know, is happening with them as a group, and you know, I don't know. There's just a lot to reflect on.
But Bill, he'd stay here until a decision's made as far as, or would he go to
I
Saratoga?
don't believe we've got to move anywhere for a week. You know, even if we were going to Pimlico, I don't think it would be necessary to, you know, get there. So yes, I think this is the best place for us to evaluate him and assess him, and I think we feel comfortable here because this is home, and I would say he'd be here for another week for sure.
I know you haven't decided, but what kind of a challenge would the treatment be for Sovereignty if you decide to go that way?
I think the Triple Crown is a huge challenge for any horse. I mean, I think the great thing about the Triple Crown is that not many horses are able to do it, and you know, certainly I believe, you know, that he's a big, strong horse, and I believe if you're ever going to look at one and say, okay, you know, if that's your goal, and the goal of the owner and what, you know, still in the best interest of the horse, I think it's, you know, the Triple Crown is great. You know, everybody knows that American Pharoah won it and Justify won it, and but, you know, we're gonna look long term.
Bill, does the fact that Belmont's 1.25 miles as opposed to a mile and a
Makes
half
it very interesting to me.
to skip?
You know, it makes it very interesting. Just, you know, I'd like to see him, you know, at his best going into Belmont.
Michael, did you talk to Sheikh Mohammed by any chance?
No, I haven't, and he obviously has another runner today in the Fillies Classic in England that everyone's very keen on. So it'll be a remarkable feat for Godolphin globally to pull the double off here in the US and be able to pull the double off in the UK as well. So I think there are high hopes for her today as well. So I did talk to Anthony Stroud driving up here this morning, and he said that the boss was over the moon with the results on the weekend.
Bill, you mentioned that, you know, the pride in doing this for the team and the barn. Are there any individuals you'd like to spotlight? Obviously, Kenny McCarthy's been with you for a long, long time, but this horse's groom or regular exercise rider, anybody like that?
Well, they're, you know, all included.
Yeah.
You know, and not only the group that's here, but this horse was in Payson Park all winter, and my assistant trainer down there is Neil Poznansky. I've got Leanna Williford at Belmont. She stays there all winter. And when we send these horses to different places, I mean, they sometimes, are with different people. Now his groom is the same groom that had him as a 2-year-old and had him at Payson Park all winter. So he's been in place. Javier is his regular rider here, but he had a different rider at Payson Park. So there's a lot of people that get to be with the horse and around the horse, and but I think there's a lot of continuity between the operations. I mean, we all where everybody is familiar with our routine and what we do, and everybody, the assistants know what I want, and if I'm not there on any given day or hour or minute, they almost know what I'm thinking.
And what's this horse's groom's name? If you don't mind.
In Adelcio. Yes.
And I think just alluding to what Bill said something yesterday about the involvement in a team sport. So, like you got the head coach and then you got all the players, no matter where they are, and they're in off the bench helping out, whether it's in Saratoga, Belmont, down in Florida, here or whatever. So I think that's what a great effort it is for his whole team to be able to jump in there, and you're not worried about that you have to have a certain person to be in those spots, because they're all of equal ability, being able to take care of his horses wherever they might be as well. And it's the same on the farms as well. You're quality people and you're happy with any of them that are taking care of the horses for you.
Michael, obviously the Derby was always the goal for Sheikh Mohammed, and he's already won a Belmont. Does the Preakness fall into? Have you ever mentioned?
We've done the Triple Crown.
Yeah.
All right.
Bernardini. Do you not remember him? Yeah. So he was one of our great early horses in America, and another homebred as well. And that was our first classic in America. And unfortunately, Barbaro broke down that day. But he was, in my mind anyway, probably a bit biased, the best 3-year-old in the country that year. I think when he went on and proved it in New York as well, he couldn't have won the Travers any easier. Won the Jockey Club Gold Cup when that was probably the biggest race in New York in the fall at that time. So he was an exceptional racehorse. Was unfortunate now, maybe not to win the Breeders' Cup here, but he had a stellar career and only ran as a 3-year-old. So we've won them all. We won the Triple Crown as such with 3 different horses. So I don't think there's any pressure, and as Bill had mentioned, we'll just do the right thing for the horse and what he needs to do. He has a big year, hopefully, to continue down the road here, and there's an awful lot of nice races that we'd like to put on his resume as well. So we'll just do the right thing for him, and I think the horse will tell Bill and Kenny how he's doing and what we need to do with him.
Michael, did you have any phone calls?
Kind of kicked off the cycle there, so how special is it that this horse, obviously has the link to Bernardini?
No, absolutely. He's the most wonderful broodmare sire and keeps on getting better and better. To have a Derby winner as well now, it's a great legacy for him, and I think his legacy is going to follow through with all these great broodmares out there. He covered exceptional crops of mares, especially in the early years, and I think this is coming to fruition. But it's extraordinary how many graded and Grade 1 stakes winners he's had as a broodmare sire. So it's a great symmetry to have our Derby winner here by Bernardini, who is one of our favourite stallions, and he was just such a wonderful racehorse as well.
Michael, have you heard from Sheikh Mohammed? Have you gotten any messages or phone conversations? I was curious to his reaction.
You didn't hear Jenny up here at the front, but she asked that already. So Anthony Stroud called when we were driving up here this morning and said that Sheikh Mohammed was over the moon with the results on the weekend. So so that was the relayed message.
Still watching the replay again, did you think more of the bobble at the break Did that become more, when you first watched it live, maybe it was not a big deal, or did you?
It didn't bother me that much, other than now I come to find out maybe the horse on the outside had, maybe got on him a little bit. But as they were going down the track, by the time they passed the wire, I mean, Junior had gotten him over to the fence, and it's like, wow. I mean, that was a textbook move to be able to do that. And of course, you've got to have the pace in the race to stretch the field out enough to make room to have the opportunity to get in. And I think it's incredibly important. Like the horse he beat was in the 8 hole, so he had more opportunity than we did to get in, and we got lucky, but it was also a great move. And we've talked about that before. I mean, you cannot win the Kentucky Derby if you're 5 wide on both turns. It's just not going to happen. The races are too competitive, and so you not only have to have the best horse, you've got to have a good trip, and you've got to have a good ride, and you've got to have somebody that's ready to give you a good ride on the day. And I'd say Junior was up for it, and I think he believed all the time that he was going to win this race. I mean, I think he's thought that, from the time that he, started riding.
He rode the race like he was going to make sure he knew where journalism was and was going to go after him. Did you guys have any discussions about that? Say, hey, don't let that horse go
not
away?
really. Not really. Just, the only thing we were hoping for was to save some ground on the first turn. Because when you turn for home, you might have to lose a little ground, coming around horses if it doesn't open up on the inside. Which I think he was, probably, I don't think it was really more than 3 wide actually, leaving the half-mile hole. I think he had tipped out but that's when he, needed to start his run.
So I think everybody understands who thought of doing right by the horse. Would it be hard to say no?
No. I mean, it just, once we make the decision, I don't think, we'll make a decision and not look back. I mean, that's the thing when you've got, I think when you're on a team and you work together and you make a decision to go or not go, whatever you do, I think everybody, look, this is what we're doing, and then you live with the outcome, whatever it may be, and I think everybody's comfortable with that.
And is the biggest obstacle the 2 weeks?
Yeah, always. I think, over the years, I think people realize that, spacing these horses out a little bit, gives you the opportunity to make them last a little longer. And I think we're looking at, a career, and, you want the career to last more than 5 weeks. Both Kenny and I talked about it, and there wouldn't have been one thing that we would have wanted to change. And I can't, with most horses, you can pick apart their training schedule. For the last 2, you say, well, I wish this, I wish that, you know what I mean? I wish we had done this, or wish the horse hadn't done that. And we couldn't come up with anything that was a negative. Everything was a positive. The way the horse was doing, the way everybody handled him, the staff. I mean, Javier, he got along with him very well. His works were what we really wanted. I mean, the first work over the track here was exceptional. I mean, he worked in 1 minute and 3/5, but he galloped out in 12 and 4, and then he continued to gallop out. I mean, he was letting him go out, but he went, 125 for the 7/8. And I mean, I always say when, that's my comment is that's racehorse time. And, there's some good horses here that work very well, but I don't know that anybody actually worked any better than he did.
Bill, you talked a bit last night about the different horses from this female family that you trained. Does he have any traits that, are family traits?
The second dam, Mushka, was a beautiful filly, absolutely gorgeous. I think she topped the sale in Saratoga when she was purchased. I think she was like maybe over $1 million. She was $1.6 or $7 million. And the third dam, who was Sluice, which I trained for the Snowden family, and we purchased her, and I think we paid maybe $1.7 million for her. And so, she was a graded stake winner and maybe a grade 3 winner. And she wasn't an exceptionally big filly, but well balanced and good enough to win a graded stake. And then Mushka, of course, was a grade 1 winner. And so it's not surprising. I mean, the fourth dam was Lakeway, who won the Alabama, and she was a top mare. So the family is just, to me, is just incredible. Particularly going back to Lakeway. I mean, she was, I think, probably a name that almost anybody would remember. So that's been in horse racing that long. I guess but the families are really, it's amazing. How sooner or later it comes through, and it came through on this horse, and he's a gorgeous individual. I mean, he's big, powerful. I mean, and you probably don't realize he's as big as he is when you stand up to him, walk up to him. I mean, he's a, Michael could probably tell you how tall he is, but he's a little taller than you would think. Might see him walk by.
Bill, your face lit up when you mentioned your grandkids. Do they come to the big races, and are they going to be the?
They didn't yesterday, but I'm sure they will in the future. And the oldest one, of course, they've both been to the races plenty of times, but they weren't here yesterday.
Do you think the value of a moment like last evening, you think there's a greater value because you waited for it? Had to wait for it?
Yeah, probably so.
If Taylor Special had won the Derby,
it would have seemed too easy. Taylor Special, 1984, I think. Swales Derby. That was huge. I mean, it was huge being in there, and we went to the trainers' dinner that year, and I sat at the table with Wayne Lucas, and I hadn't seen Wayne Lucas since I was 15 years old, and I wound up. That we raced at the same place, in South Dakota actually at that time, and I hadn't seen him in all those years. He'd gone into the quarter horses and then California, and then we wound up at the same table at the trainers' dinner, and I reminded him that I had met him when I was 15, walking around his barn. I'd sneak over there in the afternoon. And of course, we were at kind of I guess I'll use the term, a gyp track, which we were. And the backside was pretty modest, and except for Wayne's barn, they had a brand new barn there, and he had half of that. And I used to walk around his barn in amazement and look. I mean, every horse was polished and done up in 4 bandages with a show halter on the. In a wooden plaque for each horse with their pedigree and their name on it. And I mean, he's an amazing guy. And then to sit at the same table with him, I don't know how many years later that was, but 20 years later or whatever. And now we're still at the same place. And the Asmussen family, Keith Asmussen was here yesterday. He was my first job when I was 14 years old. And to see, I was thinking about it yesterday. I was on the track. I saw Keith. I saw Wayne, and we're going back to 1967, I guess, when we were all at the same place. And here we are, this many years later, and brings back a lot of memories. And that there were some very humble beginnings, I would say. And to be able to participate at this level when I never even thought in 1967, I couldn't have even imagined coming to Churchill Downs. I mean, it was, I'd never been to Kentucky before, and I thought Churchill Downs was I thought it was for someone else. And nice to be here.
Bill, among your many highlights, whether it's Scar's incredible win streak or Cody's wish, or even Country House, where does yesterday rank? Is it at the top?
It's up there. You know, I certainly don't want to take anything away from some of those other horses because they were really good horses and great experiences. But this is going to go, you know, right at the top of the list with them. I mean, you know, it's hard to beat Cody's wish. You know what I mean? The experiences we had with him and the memories we have and the meaning of it. It was incredible. But you know, this guy's he's right up there in the memory bank.